Welcome, everybody, to Let Us Interrupt You, episode 232, here on Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. I am Joseph Olivo, the one and only. This might as well be Let Me Interrupt You here. I think I've said this now plenty of times. I want to keep the name Let Us Interrupt You at this point. I mean, it's like an interrupting, news update my show would be at this point, except it's more than 3 minutes. Sometimes it's less than 20. But in this case here, we got a pretty good show today. A lot of stuff to get into in terms of what happened last night, Monday Night Football. The Celtics no longer undefeated. They lost in overtime to the T-Wolves last night. And the Bruins won in Dallas last night in a 3-2 fashion last night in hockey. I wanted to kick off by talking about the Bruins for a minute last night. They went on the road, got a big win, a much-needed win, really, out of their pathetic loss to the Detroit Red Wings, and the way Yelmark played at the end, towards the end of that game, I thought was sad. And Jeremy Swayman, 35 saves last night, and really in a more defiant statement, I would say last night to go in there against a team on the road who was a Stanley Cup contender, I would say, in the Dallas Stars, and to play the way he played last night, he played like a goalie number one last night. He played like he's goalie number one and Yolmark is goalie number two. That was my takeaway from last night. I'm not sure how anyone else would feel about that take, but I mean, to me, that's my take. I mean, you got a guy right now who's been playing like goalie number one since the season started, and most of the games have been involving Swayman anyway. Otherwise, the only best game that Yolmark has had that was legitimately interesting to watch and learn about was in a game against Chicago Blackhawks in their opening night when Benner made his debut in the TD Garden. Otherwise, there was nothing really flashy about his game, really. I think Benner overall got a goal on him, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. Otherwise, that was the only learning curve here, really, is that Yolmark took it easy on the rookie. And ever since then, Swayman has had goalie number one vibes and been MVP, I would say being MVP throughout the entire series. And talk about in a game where you allow 37 shots and you get 35 saves out of it, and you only allow 2 goals. That's pretty strong. Pretty strong performance last night. John Breacher got a wrist shot goal. Lindholm with the assist. Marshawn Laurie got a goal for the Bruins, assisted by Dayton Hannon and Ian Mitchell. Third period, no goals in the second period. Wyatt Johnson got the tip-in shot, assisted by Esa Lindell and Mario Henschken, making a 2-1 game. Then a power play goal was scored by Brad Marchand, assisted by Ramsnick and David Pastrnak. Joe Pavelski tried to got a tip-in goal, but could not get any other goal. Later in that third, they came up short in the end there. Story of this game, honestly, you had not really a lot of big leaking stuff, really. You had Ian Mitchell on the hook for hooking. Lindholm got penalized for interference, and I think Lindholm got penalized twice in this game, once for tripping and one for interference. Not really a lot to take away from this game, really. I mean, if you kind of look at it for what this turned out to be, this was a really good performance by the Bruins. They had 14 shots in the first period. They had 11 shots in the second, 4 in the third. Dallas was able to score 16, had 16 shots to 4 in the third period, which I thought was very interesting here. And really a lot more noticeable, I would say, from a standpoint where that was Swayman's best chest yet. I mean, you're dealing with an energized, waking up Dallas Star team that's trying not to lose a game at home like that. And he didn't crack under pressure. I know it's early November hockey here, but I the way I've seen it now for the last 3 or 4 weeks here, Yolmark is not the same guy as he was last year. I don't think he is. I think that whatever run he had last year, it was just a 50 minutes of fame kind of thing. Swayman is taking the full of this point. Now, this is the best start Swayman's had in a while, as far as him being a goalie goes. And I got to say here, to put a clutch performance on there after what Yolmark was trying to show in Detroit, that was a statement. The Bruins the shots declined, I guess, throughout the game. There's only 3 penalties they had in the game. Dallas had 4. They had 6 minutes for penalties, 8 minutes for Dallas. Not really a lot of major penalties last night. Not really a lot of their Dallas Stars delivered more hits than the Bruins did. That was another takeaway in this whole thing. The Bruins won their faceoff 54.7% of the time. The Stars won about 45% of the time of their faceoffs. Otherwise, the majority of the story was in this game that Frederick was a +1. Pasternak was a -2 in this game, despite getting an assist. Matt Petros earned nothing last night. Razmacek also got an assist last night, also was a -1 in the game. But Brad Marchand in the game had a goal. So that was the only good thing about it. Didn't really earn any points really from that goal. But he had 5 shots on the goal, which was aggressive on his end. Not really a lot of penalty minutes in the game, if anything. Delivered 1 big hit, 2 blocks there. That was really about it. He was really on his best behavior last night. And the story was that without McAvoy really on the floor here, you're not really missing much. And I think the Bruins are just fine without him anyway. And despite with Matt Grzelcyk out, Breach has been pretty good on the forward position right now. Giggy's been good. Hennon's been good. So far, this Bruins team looks promising. They really do. They look like a really promising team this year. I think if Swayman is the goalie going forward here, they'll be fine. I think Ullmark is starting to decline a little bit, and really it's starting to show. And really the energy is just so much different with Swayman on the ice than really it is for Ullmark. And it was kind of reversal last year, where Swayman really just wasn't really giving his best stuff. And here's Ullmark being clutch every week and only having about 97% of the saves, while Swayman was at least at a 30%. Then the month of February to June to May hit, and he woke up pretty damn quickly. So I don't know if it's going to be the same thing this time around here with Ullmark here. By February, he'll be different here. But I mean, I kind of look at it, I'm thinking, you know what? Swayman's an M1 goalie. I mean, to have a save percentage of 94.6% here, been on the ice for about over 60 minutes at this point. I mean, you're in the right direction with Swayman at goalie at this point. That's my takeaway about this whole thing. Stars last night for Ottinger had 26 saves, allowed 3 goals. Ben with a +2 last night. The end of it was a +1. Johnson had the goal, but it was a +2 in the game. Plzeski had a goal as well. Robinson had an assist. Tyler Seguin was a -1 last night. Had 2 shots on goal, 2 penalty minutes in the game, 3 hits. He actually delivered more hits than Brad Marchand did. That was kind of noticeable last night. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but they weren't really big major hits that made you go whoa. But it was like all right, Seguin was a little aggressive there. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen Seguin delivered hits before, so that was new to me. But otherwise, really good game. Vancouver once again continuing their dominance over Edmonton. They're undefeated. They won 6-2 over the Edmonton Oilers. They've now outscored this team. I just realized this now, and I just thought about this just now because I think they won 8-1 too in Edmonton too. Now the more I can think about this now, and 8-1 when they went over Vancouver the first time around. They've outscored this team 22 to like 7 at this point, and it's kind of crazy. And Vancouver's a very dangerous team. Hughes had 3 assists last night with a 1 goal. Demeko had 40 saves for Vancouver, and Brock Boeser had 2 goals last night to help the Canucks get the win. Along with Pius Suter with a wrist shot. Power play goal by Brock Boeser. It seems like every time they're on the power play, Boeser's the one guy you want to go to because he don't miss. Lena Drosny had a goal last night in the second period. Nizla Hoglander had a goal for Vancouver. JT Miller had a power play slap shot that was assisted by Hughes and Hornick. And another power play goal by Brock Boeser. Brock Boeser was 2 for 2 on power play goals last night. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, really. Otherwise, Edmonton last night just looks dead in the water. I mean, they're just not in it right now. Drosny with a -1 despite with a 1 goal. McDavid was not really a +1 or really a -1, really. He had 3 shots on goal. He had 2 hits. Holly had 4 hits last night for Edmonton, but otherwise, this was a very interesting game to watch. And I got to say, realistically, 42 shots they shot Edmonton, and they only got 2 goals out of it. This team has got some major problems. They really do. It's unfortunate, but they got some issues. The Maple Leafs won in overtime last night, 6-5. They beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. Lightning are really an interesting inconsistent team this year. I will say that this year about them. Something is off with that team. Already 4 overtime losses on the season. They just can't seem to get out of their own way. I don't know what else to say about this really. They were really up 4-1 in this game, including 2 power play goals when Nikita Kurovic and Braden point. They were point slap shots. I mean, these are awesome slap shots at this point that they couldn't stop. The speed of them, the snap, the power, everything about it. I mean, you're up 4-1 in this game. Then you allow 4 straight goals. That right after that, you got scored 4-0 there. Then Brandon Heigl has a bringing back with a goal sending to overtime. Then Kaylee Jarnick, 6 seconds into it, gets the overtime win on a tip in thanks to Morgan Riley and William Nylander. But otherwise, you had Austin Matthews get a goal. He had 2 goals last night in the game. One short of a hat trick, really. But really, if you think about it, with Austin Matthews on this team, don't ever count out Toronto. That's one way of looking at this, really. Don't ever count out Toronto. Toronto's a really dangerous team, and despite what the record says, it's early November, so don't take the record into anything seriously, unless you're the Bruins or the Knights at this point, and you're already 10-1-1. I mean, that's just. But the Leafs at this point, they're the real deal. I don't know if Tampa is the real deal this year. I don't know if they've been figured out at this point, but they're just in their own way. Already 4 overtime losses. That's a little concerning. The fact they were up 4-1 last night is also a little concerning. I thought that was very disappointing, to say the least there. Another overtime finish last night. The Florida Panthers beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 5-4 last night. Varric Hagel got a goal. Texier got a goal, and Cousins got a goal. Texier, obviously, with the Columbus Blue Jackets. But they were up in this game. The Panthers were 3-0. Thanks to Alexander Barkov, Gustav Fosling, and Ryan Lomberg in the first period. Sean Curley and Boone Jenner. Wow. Oh my God. I just realized that. Boner Jenner. That would have been a really good Kardashian character. Oh boy. Anyway, I messed that one up. But other than that, that was the story of the first period. Second period was a power play goal by Krill Mangrogov. Third period, Alexander Texier got the lead for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Nick Cousins was able to force the overtime shot down the wrist shot. And Carton Van Gale got the game-winning goal for Florida in the end. My takeaways on these games was this. Florida Panthers are still a silent wild card in this whole scenario. Don't ever get this team out in the playoff run. Toronto's a really dangerous team despite their record. The Bruins, Swimmer's your number 1 goalie. That's how you got to look at it. And Vancouver, well, they're better than Edmonton. That's how you got to look at this now at this point. I don't think Edmonton's a playoff team this year. I said it before a week and a half ago, and I'll say it again here. Sell the farm. Trade away Evander Kane, trade away Connor McDavid, trade away Leon Draisaitl. They're not going anywhere this year. It's sad to say, but they're not going anywhere this year with this team. It seems like to me that it's coming out of Draisaitl, who's carrying the team at this point. McDavid, who's I don't know what happened with him. I don't know if he's just unmotivated to play on this team or what the story is, but he's just not been the same player. I know it's early October, November vibes, but usually this guy is ready to go. I don't know what his story is, what the scenario is going forward here with this, but it's not looking good. Whatever it is, it's not looking good for Connor McDavid. It's not looking good for Edmonton at all. They're not in good graces right now at this point with their fan base. They're not in good graces right now with anything going on within that team. It's just there's something wrong there. If it's the coaching staff, you gotta get rid of the coaching staff. Fine, pull the plug on that one. I don't know if it's even that, but that whole team is just a complete dumpster fire, and it's not looking good. Celtics play on Wednesday night. There's no basketball on tonight due to election night, which I forgot was even today. I'll give you the scores that were on from last night. Starting off with the Golden State Warriors, they beat the Pistons 120-109. Steph Curry scoring 34 points for the Golden State Warriors, along with 2 rebounds and 4 assists last night. He was 12 for 26 last night, shooting 7 for 17 from 3. Green was 6 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. He had a triple single. Wiggins also had a triple single with 4 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist. These are not impressive numbers, by the way. Keon Looney, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. Klay Thompson had 17 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists. He was 8 for 16 shooting, 1 from 8 from 3. And really nothing from the bench, really. Kamanga had 10 points and Sark had 12. So there you go. Combined to get 22 points from them, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist. So that's all you need to know about that one right now. And Chris Paul had 17 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists last night off the bench. So good for him. Stewart had 17 points for the Pistons. Bagley the third had 10 points. Stewart had 17, 11, and 4 for rebounds and assists there. For anybody that wasn't a little confused. Cade Cunningham had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists last night. He was 7 for 18 shooting, 1 for 6 from 3. That was the moral of the story. He struggled shooting the 3 last night. Austin Thompson, 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. I will say this about Austin Thompson here. I don't know if people know this at this point, but I when I see him play basketball, I think of Richard Hamilton here. Every time when he plays basketball, it's the same dribble, the same shooting, the same bounce. The guy's a good shooter. He really is. Hayes had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists last night for the Pistons in the 120-109 loss. The Pacers beat the San Antonio Spurs 152-111. So much for that whole idea about the Spurs being pretty good this year. They got absolutely destroyed. Rick Carlisle got his 900th career win with that last night, so congrats to him. Hale Burton had 23 points. Doug McDermott had 17 points last night. Wembanyama, 13 points, 10 rebounds last night. No assists last night, and his night was terrible. 3 for 12, 2 for 5 shooting from 3. That's not good stats in the NBA if you're a big guy like that who's 7'4". You should not have a stat where you go 3 and 12. I know it's growing pain to this point. He's a rookie. He's got to learn, but the fact he had 0 assists last night with that stat, I mean, there's no excuse. I mean, he need to be better than that. Dallas Mavericks beat the Orlando Magic last night. Orlando 117-102. Luka Doncic had 29 points last night. Pablo Banchero had 22. Doncic returned after bumping heads early in the game, but that was the moral of the story. Anthony Davis left early last night for the Lakers. He injured his hip last night, but they came up short against the Miami Heat, losing 108-107. Bam Adebayo had a triple-double. Butler scored 28 points. Anthony Davis left early in the first half of that game. 9 points for him, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. LeBron had 30 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. And he mentioned the other day saying if he would be playing at the same elite level right now if he didn't play for the Miami Heat. So just FYI, anyone that's calling out right now him at this point and thinking he can't finish games, well, he can. Austin Reeves had 23 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. D'Angelo Russell had 13 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists last night. Christian Wood had 12 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. Ryder 7 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. And Christie had 4 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist off the bench last night. For Miami, Bion mentioned earlier, a triple-double, had 22 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists last night. Tyler Hero had 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Butler had 28 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. You know, Miami Heat mentioned earlier that how deep they were. I think with Tyler Hero here, that's the majority of the story right now. The problem is the rest of the bench is terrible. Javier Vasquez Jr. had a much better game, 9 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Better night shooting for him. Very surprising he recovered that quickly. He was struggling the first 6 games, so I was surprised that he was able to be better in that regard. Milwaukee Bucks beat the Brooklyn Nets last night, 129-125. Not really a lot of star power in that Brooklyn Net lineup. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 36 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists last night. He was 15 for 27 shooting, 1 for 7 from 3. Damian Lillard had 21 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. He was 5 for 15 in the game, 2 for 8 from 3. Middleton had 15 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. He was 6 from 10 shooting, 1 for 4 from 3. Crowder had 15 points off the bench, 5 rebounds. Portis had 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Connington had 10 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists. And Payne had 11 points, 1 rebound, and 3 assists of his own. For Brooklyn, Cam Thomas had 45 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He was 17 for 33, 6 for 16 from 3, 5 for 6 from the free throw line. I got to be honest with you right now at this point. I don't know if Brooklyn's going in any direction this year, but the trade value for Cam Thomas is going to go up here. Just FYI. I mean, at this point right now, like he's stuck on a team right now that's heading absolutely nowhere. Where I think he fit pretty well in. I think of the Miami Heat. I think of the Golden State Warriors. I think of, at this point, if you had to pull a trigger right now at this point and get another, depth piece on your team at this point, I get him. I get him in a heartbeat. I would trade Kuminga at this point. I would change the whole lineup around just to involve Cam Thomas because he is a difference maker on this whole thing, and I think that's just great to hear that he's part of a team at this point that he's trying to make his own because he's not his only star player at this point. But he'd be better elsewhere. He would be. Mikal Bridges had 31 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Spencer Dinwiddie had 3 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. A triple single with literally just threes on there. Kind of crazy. Listen to this stat right here for Ben Simmons. 2 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists last night. 1 for 3 shooting last night in 33 minutes. The fact that he's 1 for 3 for 33 minutes and all you get was 2 points out of it. Granted, he got the 15 rebounds. I'll give him that, but that's pathetic. Lonnie Walker IV had 19 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists off the bench. O'Neal had 12 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists last night. New York Knicks back at home in Madison Square Garden beat the LA Clippers in James Harden's debut last night in a 111-97 win over the Clippers. Clippers dropped to 3-3. Paul George had 10 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Not a good night for him shooting. He was 2 for 11, 1 for 6 from 3. Kawhi Leonard had 18 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 8 for 16 shooting, 2 for 6 from 3. And everyone to know 17 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 for 9 shooting from the range, 2 for 4 from 3 in 31 minutes. Russell Westbrook had 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. I can't figure out how they lost this game. On the fact that we're going to find out right now with all Randall and Barrett combined to get 53 points together. Randall had 27 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. Barrett had 26 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists in last night's finish there. The Chicago Bulls beat the Jazz 130-113. Zach LaVine had 24 points. Markin had 29. That was really the story of this game last night. DeMar DeRozan passed a sloppy Jazz team who's now 2-6, and they were able to survive that, able to pull away from this game as quickly as possible. DeRozan had 21 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. LaVine, like I mentioned before, 24 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists in last night's win over the Jazz. The Celtics undefeated no more. They lost in overtime last night. Jaylen Brown had a chance to put the game away with a game-winning 3-point shot, missed the 3, went into overtime. They lost 114-109. Jason Tatum had 32 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, with 12 for 22 shooting, 2 from 8 from 3, 6 from 8 from the free throw line. Jaylen Brown had 26 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He was 10 for 21 from shooting, 3 from 8 from 3. Porzingis had 20 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, was 5 for 14 shooting. Not a great night shooting for him. 2 for 6 from free throw, 8 from 10 from the free throw shooting. Drew Holiday had 12 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists for the T-Wolves. Anthony Edwards, 38 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. This guy was a man possessed last night. 15 from 25 shooting, 2 from 8 from 3. McDaniels had 20 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Rudy Gobert had 14 points, 12 rebounds, 1 assist last night. Karl-Anthony Towns, 7 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. I don't know how a guy like big goes 3 for 10 in a shooting game like that. He comes away with 7 points, and he's on the floor for about 27 minutes. But it was just not a pretty night. Mike Conley had 8 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists last night in the win that beat the Boston Celtics. Learning curve for the Celtics, sure. The undefeated pressure thing goes away pretty quickly here with that. So I think realistically they'll be fine. This was just one bad night here. Not really a big story on that one right now going forward. That was really legitimately the story. There was no Derek White last night in the game, so there was really not much really missing out there with that one. Although and it's kind of surprising he didn't play last night. I think he was banged up going into the game, but he is ruled probably, but he was not playing until tomorrow, Wednesday, against the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers, speaking of, they got the win last night over the Washington Wizards, 146-128. Joel Embiid had 48 points last night. 5th win in a row for the 76ers since their opening night loss to the Bucks back in opening night back in October. I think it was like the second week of October. I can't remember the date. Kuzma had 28 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists last night. Jordan Poole had 23 points, 1 rebound, 6 assists. Pretty good night for Jordan Poole. Not really bad shooting wise, really. I mean, he was 8 for 15 in the game, 4 for 9 from 3. Pretty good stuff right now. The rest of the team could have stepped up a little bit more. Avalji had 16 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Jones had 12 points, 1 rebound, 6 assists. But for Philadelphia, it was the story of Joel Embiid. I mean, he basically carried the team last night. The closest to him was Tyrese Maxey with 22 points, 1 rebound. He had 11 assists last night and helping him beat out. Tobias Harris had 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. And Melton had 14 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists last night. But that was the story of this game. This was a very, very telling game last night. Embiid just wanted to make a statement. 48 points was the way to do it. He was 17 for 25 in the game. He was a menace last night. And the bench last night, with the help of Batum, Covington, and Marcus Morris, you're getting at least 21 points combined for the both of them. And that was the moral of the story here last night. The Rockets beat the Sacramento Kings 122-97. Ime Udoka's team is now 3-3 on the year. Green had 23 points and Ellis had 15 points. Sagan for the Houston Rockets had 17 points, 12 assists, and 8 rebounds in the helping securing the win last night. The Thunder beat the Atlanta Hawks 126-117. Dejounte Murray for the Hawks had 29 points, and Gilgeous Alexander for the Thunder had 30 points last night. Chet Holmgren last night was a more of the story last night. He had 16 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. He had a double-double last night. Williams had 21 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. But Holmgren has been a difference maker, I would say, as far as depth goes. I mean, since his game against the Denver Nuggets, where he got called out for Holmgren not being fat enough to play in this league, Holmgren's been putting on some muscle here, and he's been a difference maker for the Thunder. So good for him. Nuggets beat the Pelicans last night 134-116. Djokovic earned his 108th triple-double last night as they rallied past the Pelicans. He had 35 points, he had 14 rebounds, and he had 12 assists last night in the game. Hawkins had 31 points for the New Orleans Pelicans. Zion had 20 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists last night, 1 short of a triple-double. Ingram had 22 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists last night, and Hawkins had 31 points, like I mentioned before, with 7 rebounds and 3 assists. Hawkins, by the way, Jordan Hawkins, by the way, who anyone doesn't know, is the rookie out of UConn, who was part of that national championship winning team who won their national title back earlier this year. Speaking of basketball and college, and just all that good stuff right now, let's get into the top 25. It was on last night. College basketball was back last night. The North Carolina Tar Heels beat Radford last night in an 86-70 win. Bagot had 25 points. Gills had 18 points. Archer had 9. Bagot had 13 rebounds. And Kadu had 6 assists last night in their opening night win. North Carolina, let's be realistic here. They are a really interesting team this year, coming in at 19th ranked this year. Back up this year, obviously in his final year with the Tar Heels this year. I mean, is it a good enough run? I mean, so far, a nice way to open it here. I know it's not against a really big-time school here, but it's a good opening here. He had 25 points, 13 rebounds, 1 assist. He was 10 for 16 shooting, the best shooting in the entire court last night. And a guy who can take it to the hoop. I mean, he is a difference maker on that team, and he's the reason why that team is in the top 25 conversation. Miami Hurricanes beat I think this is New Jersey International. I don't even know who this is here. Highland, I think it was. Anyway, but they beat them 101-60 last night in their huge win last night. Miami, Poplar, had 21 points last night. Miami Hurricanes are a force to be reckoned with as well. They're a good defensive team. Between Woga Poplar and Norch Omer, and I'm not making these names up, these are legitimately the names, had some good night shooting last night, and they were difference makers in the game last night. Cleveland had 10 rebounds overall. He's a big boy, a big shooting guard here for this team. He had 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Both guys, Omer and Cleveland, got double-doubles there last night in the game. Kentucky beat New Mexico State last night, 86-46 last night. Dillingham had 17 points last night, helping Kentucky secure their win. They are, by the way, 16th ranked in the country. I forgot I mentioned before. 13th ranked Hurricanes for Miami and 19th ranked North Carolina. There you go. Got that out of the way. Now we got a ranked upset story here. James Madison went into Michigan State last night. Michigan State coming in at 4th ranked in the country. They lose to James Madison last night, 79-76 last night. Very shocker here. Walker had 35 points. Tyson Walker had 35 points last night. He had 3 assists and 3 rebounds and 5 assists last night. But was not enough. He was the only player that really had anything beyond 20 points. The rest of the team's got to step up here. I know it's early November here, but this is a home opener here right now. I don't think the school wanted to see you guys lose to James Madison late in the game. The story was in this game here was practically, you had really just had no answer at that point. At one point in this game, they were down 22-9. I mean, this was just a rough one here. Michigan State tried to make a rally or a comeback here. They couldn't do that realistically. They actually were at one point down by 1 late. It was 70-74 at one point. Then there was a foul shot there, but they couldn't get the rebound there. Michigan State could not prevail. UConn, 6th ranked UConn, got the win over Northern Atlantic University, 95-52. I bet this is actually the wrong school. Or Northern Arizona. I'm sorry, not Northern Atlantic. I don't know why the hell I said that. Kerr had 22 points in the win for UConn last night. Number 2 ranked Duke beat Dartmouth last night, 92-54. Flipkowski led the charge last night with 25 points last night. 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 10 for 12 shooting, the best shooter in the entire court. And Roach, how can we forget about Roach here? 14 points, 3 assists last night, 7 for 11 last night, 0 for 2 from 3. That's okay, though. They beat Dartmouth last night. 9th ranked Tennessee beat Tennessee Tech 80-42. 3rd ranked Purdue, Zach Edey, 16 points in the 98-45 victory over Sanford last night. Very good stuff there. 24th ranked Alabama beat Moorhead 105-73. Villanova beat American 90-63. Alabama ranked 24th ranked and Villanova ranked 22nd. I forgot to mention that. And Tennessee's ranked 9th, if nobody knew that by now. 7th ranked Houston beat Louisiana Monroe 84-31. 14th ranked Arkansas beat Alcorn 93-59. Illinois, 25th ranked, beat Eastern Illinois 80-52. Texas, 18th ranked Texas to be exact, beat University, I don't even know who the heck this is, UIW, in an 88-56 win. Kansas got the win at home, 99-56. They are the number 1 ranked team in the country. They beat North Carolina Central last night, and Hunter Dixon, who was the transfer from Michigan, scored 21 points. And I'll get a little bit more into Bill Self in a little bit here because this was a developing article here according to Sports Illustrated here that I have. Arizona, 12th ranked Arizona beat Morgan State 122-59. 21st ranked USC beat Kansas State last night 82-69. 23rd ranked St. Mary's beating CCSTA 107-28. Yes, you heard that correctly. It was 107-28. That was the score. San Diego State University beating Central Suffolk. I don't even know if I'm even saying these schools right. I'm botching these schools. Okay, they beat the Titans 83-57 last night. And tonight you have 20 ranked Baylor taking on Auburn. You have 8 ranked Creighton taking on FAMU. That is coming on later on tonight. I will review those scores in those games on Thursday. But yeah, that was your top 25 story. As far as Atlanta top 25 goes, and I'll give you Atlanta 10, not top 25, Atlanta 10. Sorry. URI beat Central Connecticut State University 81-70 last night. They got their home opener win. They're now 1-0. Jaden House had 25 points last night, 4 rebounds, 1 assist last night in the win to help out URI get their first W of the season. Duquesne beat Cleveland State 79-77. Davidson beat WANL 86-63. Dayton beat SIUE 63-47. Richmond beat VMI 93-75. St. Joe's beat Lafayette 81-60. Stony Brook beat LON 73-69. I don't know if that's I'm not even sure who that is. Longwood. That's what it is. They beat Longwood 93-67. 73-69. Sorry. I don't even know. I'm so tired. George Madison beat Monmouth 72-61. VCU losing at home to McNeese State 76-65. Very shocking last night. Fordham in overtime beat Wagner 68-64. George Washington beat Stonehead 89-44. St. Louis getting the win at home in their home number 75-63 over SNIND, which I'm believing that it is Southern Iowa or Southern Illinois. Yeah, Southern Indiana. Okay, I was wrong. Yeah, I bought she schooled a lot. Big East was back in action last night as well. I'm going to cover mostly of that last night. Providence did get the win last night. They won 78-59 last night. Butler beat Eastern Michigan 94-55. Xavier beat RMU 77-63. Number 5 ranked Marquette beat Northern Illinois 92-70. I don't know why that didn't come up in my top 25. Marquette is ranked number 5 in the country. Very surprised their team didn't come up. Seton Hall got their win over I think that's St. Peter's 70-59. So there you go. That is your college basketball listing here. I just reviewed all those scores. Bill Self, let me stay on that topic for just a minute here at this point. He just agreed to a lifetime contract extension. This guy is here for life in Kansas. This is according to Sports Illustrated. This was posted apparently 35 minutes ago when I was actually still on the air. I could have opened a show with this. Wow. So I don't normally do on here. But this is what it said here on this story here. Kansas basketball and head coach Bill Self agreed to an altered lifetime contract extension that makes Self the highest paid coach in college basketball. Self originally signed a rolling 5-year contract in 2021, but according to the messenger, Jeff Goodman, his new deal would pay him $53 million over the next 5 years, more than any other coach in the country. Self has coached the team since 2003. By the way, this is his 20th year. He's won 2 national championships along with 17 Big 12 regular season titles and 4 Final Four appearances. He currently has 581 games with Kansas, which is just 9 wins behind Fogue Allen for the most in Jake Hawks history. So very shocking stuff that he got a lifetime contract. He said, quote, for more than 20 years, Coach Self has embodied the spirit and tradition of the University of Kansas, leading our men's basketball program to unprecedented success on the court while enhancing our entire institution, according to Kansas Chancellor Douglas Gerard. We feel he's the best coach in the country, and he cares deeply about this place. We are thrilled that he will be a Jayhawk for the rest of his career. This guy is there for life. I hate to say it. I would say Bill Self right now at this point, if I had to think of one he contains here, he's like a Bobby Knight version of himself. Like just the passion, the thrill of it, the excitement, the drama. He's got the Bobby Knight personality, and I got to say honestly that like Coach K never really had that. Roy Williams never really had that. Lou Piniella was the only closest thing that I could think of when it came to Bobby Knight. But as far as any other person, I couldn't think of one. But here, in this case here, Bill Self is the next Bobby Knight as far as I'm concerned. I think he's, and I'm disappointed I let them off my Mount Rushmore list of coachings here. But he might as well have been on the list at this point already. I mean, 17. But I go by the coaches I view the most here, which was Coach K. Bobby Knight was one of them. How could you have Coach K and Roy Williams not on this list here? There's a lot of them on this list, really. I mean, you got Jim Boeheim, who of course is on this list as well. I mean, that it's a tough list to make on here. It really is. And for Bill Self, I mean, I honestly think this guy is going to have a great rest of his career. And my predictions right now, he'll get his 18th Big 12 championship this year. And I got to say, realistically, I think Kansas is the real deal this year. I think they are the best team in college basketball right now. I don't know if UConn is that. I mean, they're good this year. I don't know if they're national championship repeat mode good. I thought that they'd be like that this year, but I'm not seeing it this year. I don't know what it is this year. Like I'm not feeling it this year with them. I'm really not. But I gotta say their defense is still around. I think Kansas defense it might be a little bit better too. It might be a little even. I know it's early to say after one game. I mean, it's early to talk about this really, but Bill Self, I think realistically here. One hell of a talent. I mean, one hell of a guy. So congrats to him on the lifetime contract. Well deserved. in my opinion. We do have some baseball news we got to get into here. Red Sox pitching news. Jordan Montgomery, who just won a World Series with the Texas Rangers right now, is a free agent, and the Red Sox are all in on trying to get him right now. That's according to CBS Sports article here. I don't know who that was written by. And also, they're trying sniffing out for, I think that's for Jonathan India from the Cincinnati Reds as well. So 2 players they are interested in getting in. And I can tell you right now, they're not going to get either one. I don't believe in getting Jordan Montgomery. I don't. So it's just, it's so hard for me to believe in the whole, like, them pursuing players they never want to pursue. Like you heard about the Shohei Ohtani rumor. I mean, they weren't going to get him. So if they can't get him, I don't know how they're going to get Montgomery. I really have a hard time believing that. Will Levis is the name the starting quarterback for the rest of the 2023 season for the Tennessee Titans. That was also a CBS Sports article today as well. I think Will Levis earned the job when he threw those 4 touchdowns in his rookie debut. And the not-so-hot finish that he had in the end of that Steelers game, the Steelers where they barely survived, he threw for 262 yards. 240 the first game, 262 the second game. That's what? That's at least 502 yards combined in the last 2 games. That's more than any quarterback has had in a long time. I mean, it's not up to par to CJ Stroud numbers because CJ Stroud's way above him at this point. But we're gonna probably see a CJ Stroud Will Levis, duel in the near future here, sometime soon. So I wouldn't count that out at this point. I just wouldn't. That should be one hell of a duel though, going forward. I'm gonna give you some more interesting news on the day front right now. Then I'll review the Chargers Jets game. I don't normally review NFL games late in the end here, but of how dreadful that game was last night, and I practically had to fall asleep and wake up to watch the end of that game again. I just thought that was pathetic. Power forward Robert Williams III, the former Boston, is undergoing his knee surgery again. Expected to miss an extended period of time. Not good news if you're a Portland Trailblazer fan at this point. You thought you were going to win out of this whole thing. You got a guy who's once again going through another knee procedure. I don't know if this guy's going to have an ACL left by the time this is all said and done. And his knees are just like completely just useless at this point. He's got spaghetti legs. And the guy can't last more than 25 minutes on the court. I think it's time to call it a career if you're Robert Williams III. That's my take. I mean, I don't know if I'm going too far with it, then maybe, but how many times has this guy gone through knee procedure at the knee procedure at the knee procedure? It's just, you got to know when it's time. You really got to know when it's time. Bill Belichick was on the press conference after the game on Sunday. He was asked what was his status right now as his coaching goes at this point, his job status at this point. He said, quote, "My focus is getting ready for the Colts." And honestly, I think that whole team wants to kill each other. They want the season to come to an end. This is going to be a nightmare trip. It's not going to end well. And the Crafts calling, Ben Volen calling this the Super Bowl for the Crafts, which honestly, if this is the feeling of going to the Super Bowl at all at this point, I got to be honest with you right now. I think they're going to want to. I think they would forfeit a game just because of the fact they all quit on one another. I don't know, but this is a very toxic situation, and I got to say, realistically, Robert's got no one to blame but himself here. I'm sorry, but that's just the way you got to look at it. He's all invested in Mac, not really invested in Bill. Bill's obviously seeing it. He doesn't really care about coaching his team going forward here. The whole team knows it. They don't really care what happens going forward either. They're 1-5, I believe, this year at home. 1-5. They don't have anything going on at this point. They are a team at this point right now who is heading the simulation button on the season and calling it a quits and want the season to be over with at this point. They're done. They're cooked. Mac Jones, who can put on the Patriots facade all he wants at this point, he's only doing it for Robert. He ain't doing it for Bill. And realistically here, if we're going to be realistic here at this point, I think all the players are doing this whole Patriot Techco political answer one-on-one interview style thing for Robert at this point. That whole team is defeated. There's no other way of looking at it. That loss to Washington, everyone says that was rock bottom. That loss in New Orleans was more rock bottom than this was right here. This was a simple bad mistake by Juju Smith-Schuster. Mac Jones did the best he could in this game. He still sucked. Uh, Throw the ball 44 times and you get one touchdown out of it with one pick. It's not a good situation. And he had one deep throw, and when Rager probably should have caught the ball, he dropped it. I'm not putting that on Mac either. But all the other throws besides that one, pretty bad throws. In the end of the day, though, that loss was on Juju Smith-Schuster, 100%. And I don't know if it's just the fact right now that that he doesn't want to be in New England at this point. That he was only there to take the money at this point. If he wanted out of there, if he wanted to get traded, I don't know. And the whole Jack Jones, J.C. Jackson situation at this point, them being benched late in the game, and then not going to the media afterward. Do you think they're going to play on Sunday? I don't think they're going to play. I have my doubts right now they even play at all. I have my doubts right now they even make the trip. That they even go to this game at all. I don't think they go to Germany at all. And I got to say, realistically here, that's the wrong approach to take this at this point. But because of how toxic this whole season is, you know what the season reminds me of? The Patriots. This reminds me of the 2012 Red Sox, where everybody hated each other, where Euclid was being called up by the media by his own manager. It's the same thing here with Bill Belichick calling out Mac Jones. Or in this case here, Bobby Valentine calling out John Henry to fire him. Bill Belichick doing the exact same thing with Robert Kraft here. It's digging deep into the wound, making it worse. And it's just that whole team, the direction they're going in, it ain't a good one. It ain't a good one. That's how you got to look at this right now. It ain't a good one at all. And I got to say, realistically here, I'm a little disappointed as a Patriot fan. I mean, I thought this team would actually give a damn about their season, and here they are. They don't care where their season even goes. It's sad. It's actually really sad at this point. I'm actually really sad as a Patriot fan to sit there and watch that. And I have to accept it. Okay. My father told me a long time ago that, hey, this team's going to suck no matter how you look at it without Tom Brady. So get ready for it. And here I am now. But here's the thing. Where a team should actually invest in this whole thing, the fact they've given up so much so far, like in the last two, and even after Mac Jones' playoff loss to Buffalo, you talk about the amount of things they gave up and the amount of effort they put into building these teams together. And I don't know if this is a Kraft thing that he's still trying to grapple with the whole 2021 spending spree, but you didn't spend on the right people. In fact, if you think about it, really, you made it worse for yourself because you spent it on the wrong people. You got two tight ends at this point that got, great contracts, but one of them's now in Atlanta now. You got Nelson Aguilar on a contract, but the reality was he had frying pan for hands, and now he's with the Baltimore Ravens right now playing the best career football he's played in over 6 years. And what do you got to say about this right now with Juju Smith-Schuster at this point? He's supposed to be the number one wide receiver on this team, and here he is. He drops a ball, which ends up being an interception late in the game. So there's a lot to digest there with this Patriot team. And I'm not sure what is going to happen with this Patriot team going forward here. But for Bill to come out and say that I'm only focused on Indianapolis here, of course that was going to be his answer. I mean, doesn't matter if it's a team media base made thing, it's a woke community thing, or just people that are podcasts that just want a spot here. Bill is going to be Bill like he was for the past 50 plus years in coaching. So that's not going to change. If the Patriots lose this Sunday, though, doesn't matter. Bill's not going to get fired. I don't even know I think he resigns from this team. There's no question about it. I think deep down he wants to quit this team, and he already has. That's my opinion. I think he already has quit on the team already. I think he's just going through the motions, waiting for this year to come to an end, piecing out of this because he's putting on the year. He doesn't care about what this record's going to be. It's not going to affect him once he leaves because he's going to leave. He's going to go elsewhere. If he isn't the GM anywhere else at this point or the owner of the team, fine. I think he's there for the shoot. I think he knows deep down that he put a team together with Robert Kraft here, and it wasn't solely his. And both Kraft and them were just too cheap at this point in time. They figured, I can turn this player into this. But, it just never was. We watch an old college football, what they used to be at this point, and they've progressively declined since becoming in the NFL at this point, you know it's a bad sign. It's a bad voodoo. It's not good. Let's put it that way. You're playing the Indianapolis Colts this week with Gardner Minshew at this point. And I don't know how they're favored, but they supposedly are, which I think they should be underdogs heading this game. In fact, I think they should be 10-point underdogs heading this game. This Indy team's dangerous. Doesn't matter what their record is. They're better than you are. So you lost to a Washington Commander team that doesn't have Chase Young anymore because you traded him to San Francisco, and Montez Sweat, who had a 4-year, $98.72 million contract extension with the Bears. Their best pass rushers, and you lose that game. I don't know what else to tell you. Quite frankly, I think this team is terrible. I don't know why they even bother playing for you on Sundays at this point. Put it in. It's done. There's no other way of looking at it. They're pathetic, really, if you ask me, though. The worst team in football, in my opinion, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, right now, the only positive thing you got coming out of this whole thing is you might beat the Giants after your bye week. You just might do it. Or 2 weeks after your bye week, I think. I'm trying to remember whether or not they have another home game or not before their bye. I don't think they do. But it's week 10 by that point. So their bye week is the following week. Then they got to go to the Giants, and you might beat the Giants with Tommy DeVito at quarterback. That's your only win you're going to have for a while, and that's pretty terrifying. But your only signature win after your bye is possibly Tommy DeVito for the New York Giants. Not Tyrod Taylor, not Daniel Jones, not Tim Tebow, not Eli Manning, not Peyton Manning, not even Tom Brady. Tommy DeVito. That is who you're gonna beat. Because I mean, if they lose to this team, then they should just should just step down. If they lose to Tommy DeVito, of all guys to lose to, and I'm talking in week 12 here because they're not playing week 11, but in week 12, if they lose to Tommy DeVito, Bill should just step down. Should call it quits. End it. No sense. Anyway, so I want to get that little ranting out of the way. Big Ten sending a notice to the potential discipline per reports to the Science deal here. So there could be something coming from Jim Harbaugh. Could be another suspension. Could be something else there. Who the heck knows? Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase injured his back. He said, "quote, it's pretty sore with possible." I'm not sure what it says here, but possible back injury there. He said, "quote, it got worse as the game went on." So there's a lot of question right now on whether or not Jamar Chase even plays this Sunday against the Houston Texans. Another factor about that Texans-Buccaneers game, which I think is game of the year in my opinion at this point. I don't know if that game gets topped. Ended with a final score that never happened before in NFL history with 39-37 score, which I looked it up and I said to myself, I'm surprised this article never really came out about that until the next day. So that really did surprise me. Chase Young explaining why he wasn't mad, quote unquote, when he found out he was being traded for the Washington Commanders. Because the guy wanted to be free from that team. Let's be realistic here. He said, quote, I wasn't mad. Nick Bosa is here. Always been a big brother to me, Young said. Just stepping in for today. Got in here last week. Just the culture, the vibe is a lot different. I definitely know that I'm in the building with winners, post quote. He wants to be part of a winning culture. It's that simple. I don't know why anybody would be shocked by that statement. But apparently that was a newsworthy stuff right now. Listen, Chase Young was going to go to a winning team in a trade no matter how you look at it. That menace right there, that guy right there who was, really just on a bad vibe with the Washington Commanders. The team had to sell their team because of these accusations and all that stuff like that. The sexual assault to a cheerleader and stuff like that, and banning signs and changing the name and making up some excuse, complaining and whining they had everything on the NFL, blackmailing people, just a scummy, disgusting owner. And Chase Young had to be a part of that for the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years. I don't blame him for wanting out of that team. And Montez Sweat felt the exact same way. Jonathan Allen, unfortunately, still stuck there. I think that would have been a good trade package at this point if you would have gotten both. I think if you're 49ers there at this point, because you got to gotten him, Nick Bosa, and Chase Young with Hargrave there. That defense is scary as far as I'm concerned. That 49 team is going to be dangerous as the season goes on here. I don't think they're going to lose a game going forward out of this trade. I don't. And I have a hard time believing anybody could even take that team and beat them. I just don't think anybody could do it. Philadelphia might give them the run for their money, but I don't know. I just think San Francisco is too dangerous. But right now with Hargrave on that team right now and just Chase Young, unfortunately, Jonathan wasn't part of that trade package, and Nick Bosa being there, that's a scary team. That's a scary team. You got Fred Warner there. You got Hollonger there. That's terrifying. They're playing at Jacksonville this weekend too. So prayers go out to Trevor Lawrence, and hopefully he doesn't get crushed by Chase Young in the process. By the way, they faced off before, so this is going to be a Chase Young versus Trevor Lawrence matchup. I'm not calling this the Brock Purdy versus Trevor Lawrence matchup. I'm calling this the Chase Young versus the Trevor Lawrence game because that's what's going to come down to. Young's faced him before in college. I mean, it makes sense here. They faced him in the college football playoff before. It's going to be one hell of a game. That's how I got to look at it. Or actually, I don't think they ever faced up before. Maybe it was Deshaun Watson, maybe? Maybe that's what it was. I think it was Watson. So, we'll see. We'll see if that ends up being a Super Bowl rematch. Which, I mean, I have my doubts that it might be, but, I mean, it just... It's a wait-and-see kind of thing. Oh, I forgot to mention this, by the way. Steve Kerr retiring during the U.S. Olympics in 2024 in Paris. He made the announcement today according to Instagram. Kind of really shocking that he's going to announce his retirement from coaching. The question is now, does he go back to TNT with Kevin Harlan? You know, does he go to ESPN or does he just go out in the sunset and live out in Paris? I mean, the fact that he's coaching that team is one thing. The fact that he's retiring before the NBA season next year, that's kind of surprising. To put that like nose on your thing, like you have to, like if you're Golden State right now, your mindset is you have to win a championship this year. This is it because Steve Kerr is going to win a gold medal at this point for U.S. and that's really better because I think that U.S. team does win a gold medal and doing it for Steve Kerr here. I think this is more about them not only winning a championship but then winning a gold medal. That's a hell of a year for the Golden State Warriors. It's a hell of a year for Steve Kerr to go out. So. It's either championship or bust this year for the Warriors. That's how you got to look at it. And I think Chris Paul might be on the mental team this year too. So if Chris Paul and here's one way of looking at this. You could look at this as Steve Kerr retirement, but could Chris Paul be on the move for retirement as well? A lot of ways of looking at this as well. Could Robert Williams III be playing his final year of basketball with a knee injury that he suffered right now at this point anyway? Get another knee procedure done, playing the Olympics, being a reserve on the bench. Could he be retiring? So you could be seeing three potential people retiring from the NBA in 2024. That's how you got to look at this. We had some good NFL action last night. Oh, actually, before I even get to that, there was also some news about Carson Wentz. Before I get to the Chargers Jets, another LA team that got some good news today. Carson Wentz has made his return to the NFL. He has been out of the free agency hiding. Now going to be the quarterback now for the Los Angeles Rams and Sean McVay. So very interesting stuff. I guess Wentz is playing this weekend, I believe, if I'm not mistaken here. I'll get a quick look on that story. But again, that is a very telling story, to say the least here. On that story there for the Rams, I believe they are and they are not playing. Unfortunately, they have a bye this week. He'll be making his debut against the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday, November 19th. So that should be a very good game on Fox. Jets and Bills will be playing at 4:25. They'll be on CBS with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on that day. As far as that going right now, we have Bears Lions at 1 o'clock. That's it. And the Monday night game obviously going to be the Eagles and Chiefs. That's going to be your game of the week. Super Bowl rematch. That's on November 20th. A few days before Thanksgiving, which is on November 23rd. But week 10 or I should say week 9, sorry, concluded last night with a Chargers beating the Jets 27-6. This was a pathetic performance by Zach Wilson last night. 33 for 49, though, 263 yards. Didn't really turn the ball over as much in the game. He was sacked 8 times, though, however, though. This offensive line did a terrible job protecting him last night. And actually, he did have some fumbles last night. He had 2 fumble losses last night. He fumbled the ball 3 times. Garrett Wilson fumbled last night as well. He, in the game, last night had 7 catches for 80 yards last night. Conklin had 6 catches for 66. Michael Carter had 6 catches for 24 yards. Lazard had 2 catches for 18 yards. Gibson, the hero from New York back in September, on that punt return for a touchdown, he had 2 catches for 32 yards last night. Justin Herbert, 16 for 30, 136 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. This game basically kicked off with a punt fest until Darius Davis had an 80 punt return for a touchdown. Eckler had a 1-yard run and an 8-play, 50-yard drive. This was a turnover city mostly last night. I mean, this wasn't even pretty. It got to a point where Eckler ran the ball up again, and he had another. I think they fumbled it again. And that led to a touchdown there. Chargers get the win. They win 27-6. They beat the Jets. The Jets dropped to 4-4. They're a fraudulent team. That's how you gotta look at it. Zach Wilson got exposed finally. All the good graces that he got for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It came to a head last night. Did it come to a head against the worst defense in the NFL? Yeah, it did. Kind of shocking. They forced about 4 or 5 turnovers last night. They finally woke up, the Chargers, believe it or not. This is probably one of their best defensive games they've had all year. And it had to come against a team that has a quarterback that is a fraud. He can't really compose himself. He screws up in high pressure situations. And honestly, he sucks. Zach Wilson's terrible. That's how you got to look at this last night. This was a complete disaster. Probably one of the worst losses last night. And honestly, that whole team quit on Robert Saleh last night. That whole team just quit. That's one way of looking at it. They just quit on the coach who was trying to desperately save his job. He knows this is his last year with the team because he'll eventually get fired. Aaron Rodgers is supposed to be the quarterback of the team. He's got a torn Achilles at this point, so he's playing offensive coordinator to a head coach who couldn't even keep a job in Denver for a full season at this point, who's trying to save his job. So you look at it from that perspective here, and you think to yourself, okay, there's one bright side of this whole thing. Aaron Rodgers is not completely gone and going to Puerto Rico with Jake Paul. He's not gone yet from the season, right? So here's my take on this whole thing. I think Robert Saleh is going to get fired at the end of the year, no matter how you look at it. Even if Aaron Rodgers does come back here, he'll get fired at the end of the year. Nathaniel Hackett will not take over as head coach. I predict right now that Matt LaFleur will leave Green Bay to go to New York. And I think Devontae Adams goes right along with them. I hate to say it here, but it's kind of true. I don't think there's really a doubt in my mind about this whole thing, but it really wouldn't surprise me if that actually happened. And I think Robert Saleh, if you want my real honest opinion about where he ends up going next year as a head coach, it's right to the Green Bay Packers. That's how you got to look at this, really. He's going to go right to the Green Bay Packers. And I think Kirk Cousins next year, like I heard all week could be a free agent next year. He's going to come back to Minnesota. I don't think they're going to really need him. I mean, if Joshua Dobbs is your guy, if Jaron Hall is your guy going forward, whoever the case may be, Dobbs had to come back against the Falcons. I mean, that was a big win that he needed to have happen here. I got to say, realistically, I think Cousins ends up going to Green Bay next year. But I think Robert Saleh, realistically, before it gets fired, will probably resign from this team. I think he's starting to realize now at this point, this team is just not what I envisioned at all. Aaron Rodgers is playing offensive coordinator to a guy that can't run an offense by himself. He needs this old quarterback who's got a torn Achilles tendon. And I hear the rumors saying he might come back. He'll come back this week. He'll come back that week. He's supposed to come this week. There's too many conflicting reports right now to make this guy want to convince to stay here. You got an owner at this point that doesn't want to invest in another quarterback. They went with Zach Wilson because Zach Wilson was the answer. Because deep down, the owner said, F you to Joe Douglas, a GM, said screw you to the Players Association because they're cleaning house after the season. That's how you got to look at this. Because even if they make the playoffs and they're one and done, let's say they don't even win a playoff game, they're still going to clean house. no matter how you look at it. And one way of looking at this, really, for what it is, the Jets just don't care about the season. They don't care. They fooled us into thinking that Zach Wilson would be the next phenomenon. Yes, he threw for 263 yards last night. He also got sacked 8 times and fumbled 3 times. That's like having Cam Newton fumble 3 times in a game. He might as well have topped the Cam Newton turnover ratio last night in one football game in 3 years. Because he did the exact same thing against the Buffalo Bills back in 2020 when I watched that game. That was a debacle of a game as well. I haven't seen a bad Monday Night Football game like that since that Buffalo Bill Patriot game. And that was the first year the Bills swept the Patriots, and that was the first year Tom Brady was not a Patriot. Think about that for a minute. In Aaron Rodgers' first year as a Jet, he watched one of the worst Monday Night Football games in the entire NFL season. That was by far the most disappointing, uninspiring, pathetic Monday Night Football game in the entire 2023 calendar year. I'm sorry. I hate to say it, but it's a goddamn freaking truth. There was no fight in that game at all. The Jets just flat out quit. They turned it over every time. They kept shooting themselves in the freaking foot. Zach Wilson kept getting pissed off. Robert Saleh just stood there with a quizzed, confused, dumb look on his face. It was a pathetic football game to watch. And I don't suggest anybody to watch that game going forward. It was not worth the watch. It was not worth the viewing time. Do not go back and watch that game. It was a terrible football game. One of the worst football games in the entire season. And I don't think, and I gotta say realistically for Zach Wilson here, as far as throwing the ball 50 times at this point, at least he threw for 270. At least he didn't pull a Mac Jones here and throw the ball 44 times and barely get to 220 yards. And I would say right now, honestly, at this point, I feel bad for Zach Wilson. Because really, it's on him, really, too. But honestly, that whole thing last night, that was on the offensive line. That was the worst version of themselves last night. And to be sacked 8 times last night, 8 times, that's pathetic. And Justin Herbert didn't even have his best stuff last night. And he was sacked in the game 5 times last night. That was one of his worst games of his career. Keenan Allen had 8 catches for 77 yards last night. Eckler had 2 catches for 23 yards. Joe had 2 catches for 18. This was by far the recipe right here of them losing last night. They should have lost this game. And yet somehow this ended up being a 21-point win. I can't figure it out. Joey Bosa last night had 2.5 sacks last night. Khalil Mack had 2 sacks last night. 2 sacks by Tupelo last night. 1 sack by Marlowe, the former Falcon. Half a sack by Fox last night. 8 sacks last night. 8 freaking sacks last night on Zach Wilson. And whoever idea it was to say at this point, oh, Zach Wilson's fine, he's not. You're all a bunch of frauds. You all bought into hook, line, sinker. It's that simple. It's just that simple. There's no other way of justifying it other than that. And what we saw last night, pretty good example of why Robert Saleh is going to get the pink slip at the end of the year. It's coming soon. But he can avoid it by resigning. And I think that's what Bill Belichick's going to do. I think Bill Belichick has punted on this season right now. I think Robert Saleh is about to punt on the season for the New York Jets. Even if Aaron Rodgers does come back, I don't think he's going to put him in. I think Saleh's just done. How could he not be? After what he watched last night. How he had an entire offensive line quit on this quarterback last night. They quit on the entire, not even just on Zach Wilson, but on everybody. You know, it's on live television. The whole world's watching you. Over 338 billion people are watching you. 338 million, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong on the numbers, but like million, billion. Tons of people watching. And you do that on live television. You put me to sleep. A guy who loves to watch football. You put me to sleep. Ugh. Ugly game. Ugly, ugly, ugly game. That's how I look at this here. Let's see. We got some basketball on tonight. I'll go over it one more time here, then I'll sign off here. We got no NBA, obviously, but we do have college basketball on tonight. Yes, we do. We have the biggies on the fly here. We have Georgetown. Ed Cooley Yes, I did eventually say his name. The Browns did have their first win with him, so it's okay to say his name now. Ed Cooley will be making his debut tonight. Rick Pitino will be making his debut for St. John's as they take on Stony Brook tonight. DePaul will be taking on PFW, and 8 Creighton, I mentioned before, is taking on FAMU. That on the Big East side of things. Big 12, I'll visit the Big 10. Why not? Actually, I probably should review these from last night. Ohio State beat Oakland 79-73 last night. Rutgers lost to Princeton 68-61. Nebraska beat Lindenholm 84-52. Wisconsin beat Arkansas State 105-76. And Northwestern beat Binghamton 72-61. That was on the Big Ten last night. Big Ten basketball-wise, Michigan will be taking on North Carolina AS. I believe this is or North Carolina Asheville. North Dakota will be taking on Iowa. Indiana will be taking on Florida Gulf Coast University, and Maryland will be taking on Mountain. I think it's Mountain St. Mary's, the Mount they call themselves. So that's coming on later on tonight. Top 25 games. I mentioned before, Auburn's playing at Baylor. Baylor's ranked 20th. Creighton's ranked 8th. I already mentioned that already. As far as URI going, land 10 wise, there's only Drexel and LaSalle playing later on tonight, and UMass playing Albany. URI does not play again until Thursday. They are taking on Fairmouth. That's another home game for them at 7 o'clock. Wednesday, it's Florida Atlantic and Loyola Chicago. Florida Atlantic, by the way, ranked 10th in the country. And St. Louis is at home against Limbo. I think that's how you say the school's name. Anyway, hockey on tonight. You got the Detroit Red Wings at the New York Rangers tonight. You have the Nashville Predators at the Calgary Flames. Pittsburgh Penguins at the Anaheim Ducks tonight. You have the New Jersey Devils at the Colorado Avalanche. Philadelphia Flyers are at the San Jose Sharks. You've got the Buffalo Sabres at the Carolina Hurricanes. Tampa Bay Lightning at the Montreal Canadiens. Minnesota Wild are at the New York Islanders. You have the Winnipeg Jets at the St. Louis Blues. And the Seattle Kraken at the Arizona Coyotes. All right. I'm finally done. Okay. You can follow me on my social media. It's Snapchat, it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's TikTok. You know the rest of the drill. I'll see you all again on Thursday. I'm out.
You need a monitor up there, a desktop.